be avoided if we would just start drilling for oil right now. Then, excuse me, we don't need them. We don't have to bow to Islam. We have enough resources
Okay.
here to become independent.
Okay, firstly, let me say one thing, my dear. I travel around the United States, and regarding the question of America drilling for its own oil, this is happening already. I was in Texas. There's a whole area north of Houston called the Woodlands, and they have a tremendous amount of oil. They're fracking. They're finding it. Pennsylvania. I have my best friend in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is being bought up lock, stock, and barrel by the oil companies, and they have fracking and shale oil there in Pennsylvania. You have it along the eastern side of the Rockies, in Wyoming and Kansas and Colorado, Alaska. By the way, I want to say one thing without getting too much into politics, but I believe by the elections in November of 2012 that the gallon of gasoline will go down to $2.50 a gallon, and because of this drilling, and President Obama will get the credit. Okay, I'm just telling you, there will be results. There will be Monica Lewinsky manipulation of the price of oil, like I said before. Wall Street will go up from 12,000 to 18,000. The economy is not going to crash. The economy is going to do better because the Saudis are totally committed to Obama's re-election. Go on. Yes.
So our next question is right over here. Could you stand up and say that?
Will involve the appropriation, or shall I say the misappropriation, of your natural resources, your forests, in order to fulfill the housing solutions in rural areas.
Yes.
Because you cannot add 100 million Muslim immigrants into the cities as they are today. You've got to create entirely new infrastructure for these people.
And the other question is, have you heard of the perfect day?
No. What is the perfect day?
The perfect day is when Muslims in one day will do whatever havoc they can possibly do. Running people down with cars, anthrax, going into shopping centers, all doing it on the same day. Individuals doing
Okay, what you have just described is what I've just said about the Edmonton plan for the final solution of the Jewish question in the U.S., Canada, and the rest of the world. In other words, it'll be a day of complete havoc. And firstly, I want to say one thing about the United States of America. I am a believer in the United States of America as a Christian country. It'll be a crazy time for everyone. It will be a time literally of tribulation. And I believe America will come out of this period as a Christian country. Otherwise, it'll be, I think, the end of the world. America must be a strong Christian faith country, but there will be a period of chaos, yes. Lady,
Next question
okay.
is right back here, and then you say.
Mm.
Avi,
Yes.
if it can be shown that the Quran had multiple authors, especially if at least one of them was in a century after Muhammad,
I'll hold
what
it.
would happen?
Okay, well, firstly, the question was if the Quran has numerous authors and it's not the divine word of Allah to Muhammad, it would basically discredit the book and would signal part of the end of Islam. Now, I've written 5 books. My 5th book goes specifically into this question, that the Quran, I have a teaching on DVD also and CD called The 5 Deceptions of Islam, and it talks about the Quran being written by a rabbi and a priest who were kidnapped and at the edge of a sword were forced to write a holy book supposedly greater than the Old Testament and New Testament. They were promised their freedom, they were double-crossed, and they were executed. Now, I take apart the Quran in my books, especially book number 5, Islam Prophesied in Genesis, and I show that the Quran was written by multiple authors. The Quran was changed many times. The Quran has a Jewish numerology of 3 and 19, which are Jewish numbers. We don't have time to go into it now. Basically, the rabbi and the priest, the rabbi's name was Ovadia ben Shalom, and the name of the priest was Sergius Bukhaira. And this rabbi and priest self-destructed the Quran from within. But you have to go to seminary. You have to go to Jewish seminary. You have to go to Christian seminary to be able to read this Quran and see the fingerprint of the rabbi and the priest. But it's a good question, and I'm working on many levels to defeat Islam. One of them is to... The effect...
The Muslims buy into it and say, okay, you're right. What happens?
Okay, now the bottom line is I believe the defeat of Islam is a system. By the way, Germans, I used to hate Germans. Today I love Germans. But I fight Nazism to my last breath. I love Russians, I love Chinese, I love Cambodians, but I'll fight communism to my last breath. I love Japanese, but I'll fight Tojo fascism to my last breath. I love the Muslims, but we have to defeat Islam. One of the ways to defeat Islam is to disprove the Quran. One of the ways to defeat Islam is to take Mecca. If you take Mecca, the black stone, or if you destroy the black stone from a laser, a killer satellite, if you vaporize it, it's the end of Islam, and it doesn't kill anyone. When they see that their God is not greater, that our God is greater, that's the end of Islam. Then it'll be up to the missionaries to save these people.
Next question right here.
Yes, next question.
I spend a lot of time in Brazil. Brazil has 187 million people.
Right,
Basically, it's a Christian country.
right.
That oil find off the coast of Rio, they estimate, is larger than the entire oil reserve of the Middle East.
Right.
When that oil comes online, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because of the problem with the depth, will that not change the entire dynamics of the world?
Well, by the way, your remark about the oil drilling off the coast of Brazil,
Rio.
Israel has just found oil also. So we are finding oil in different parts of the world, including the U.S., including Brazil, including Israel. And so theoretically, if we can maintain these finds and not allow them to be destroyed by the enemy, then indeed what we have to do is go through a period of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, hold our breath basically, and hope that the economy will come out on top.
But these are not Christian. This is a basic Catholic country. Now, the Chinese have already bid and put a major deposit down on the oil before a barrel has come up.
Yeah.
But still, the Chinese and the Christians in Brazil, this will entirely change the dynamics of the Middle East.
I agree
and
with
the
you.
Arabs. They estimate there's more oil off the coast of Rio than the entire Arab countries combined. And that's a conservative estimate.
Okay, what you're saying is very important. Like I said before, I don't believe that the American economy will collapse in the next year or two, because the Chinese and the Saudis are totally committed to America maintaining itself. But the problem that I see is a spiritual problem. Will this country be a Christian country, or will this country's Christianity be destroyed? If this country's Christianity is destroyed, then America will be destroyed. America will not survive, and it will become maybe, God forbid, in a Muslim country. So it's very important. I see you grimacing, but I listen to what the Muslim plan is. I spoke about 9/11 years before it happened. It's on one of my CDs and one of my books. My first CD and my first book that I did with Chuck Missler. And I came to America, and El Al had such tight security, and the Americans said, you Israelis are paranoid. They wouldn't dare to attack us. And my wife was picking up broadcasts in Arabic where the Arabs were saying they were going to take the American planes and crash them into the World Trade Center. They said they were going to do it. And if the Arabs are saying today that America is going to be a Muslim country, they mean it. And America is the great Christian Satan, which has to be Islamicized or destroyed for Allah to reign supreme in the world.
Randy, what's your question?
Basically, you answered it a bit about trying to improve the spirituality
Yeah.
of the country. Is there something else that we can do?
Is that a question?
Okay.
He'll repeat it.
Yeah.
So.
I'll repeat.
Thank you.
Okay, the question was about America's spirituality being destroyed. I want to tell you something. Like I said before, America is a country that is based on certain values. I think even CNN some years ago had a factoid which came out and said that 66% of American high school kids go to church on Sunday. So basically, the American people, the majority of the American people are Christian. They are faithful to God. The problem is, as you probably know, that you have a bunch of mushheads from the 60s who are running this country now. And these people are all dopies, and they're all communists, and it's very dangerous. But I think America will come. America is very sick, but America will come out of it. I'm a firm believer of that.
Okay, our next question is right back here.
There's one point that you didn't cover, and that is that the United States is an armed society. We have in this country, conservatively estimated, 225 million guns. There are 50 to 60 million Americans who own guns. I think that would be a big impediment to any Islamic takeover.
Thank you very much. I'll repeat the question. America has over 200 million guns. The population has over 200 million guns, and praise God for that. But what I'm saying is this. Guns don't make any difference if the spirituality of the country is wrong. And if the Islamic plan is not to kill 300 million Christians in America, but to kill 5 million Jews and perhaps 3-4 million Christians married to the Jews, and especially if the Jews do not want to hear what the Islamic plan is. That the Jewish people say, we had our Nazi Holocaust, we have the State of Israel, and that's a sign there'll never again be a Holocaust, when in fact the greatest Holocaust is still laughing at us in the face. In front of us is the Islamic Holocaust. And the Christians listen to me. Many Jews do not want to hear this because it gets people out of their comfort zone. So if you have 200 million guns, that's wonderful. But if the Jews do not know that Islam is coming to kill them, and or if the synagogues are having ecumenical outreach to the Muslims, this serves as a conduit for the Muslims to know who the Jews are so that they can more effectively and more rapidly kill them. So guns are very important, but in addition to guns, you have to have an education and a strong faith to understand what the nature of the beast is.
Okay, we have 3 more questions.
Even if Americans who have guns are ready to take the law into their hands, which may be an ultimate necessity, but if the people who are targeted for death, the Jews, if they're targeted for death and they don't know and they don't want to know, then they are opening themselves up to being killed. And not you, but the Jews.
There are Jewish groups, by the way, that are learning to talk to themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay, our next question is right over here.
Yes.
One question is, when you talk about the Arabs,
Okay, the question is, when do I see the Arab Spring happening? And the point is that Egyptians are scheduled to have elections in September. The army is trying to postpone the elections to November, and I wouldn't be surprised if the army, which works quite a bit on common sense, says that, like the Algerians, we're not going to allow this country to become an Iran, and a civil war breaks out between the Muslim Brotherhood and the army. What's happening in Syria, like I said before, the Muslim Brotherhood will win imminently with a Turkish invasion of Syria backed by the Saudis and backed by the U.S. government.
and my second quick question.
Yes.
I mean, everything that you have said has been great, but in terms of action steps that we can do, what are you suggesting?
Well, you know what? It says in the Bible, in Hosea 4, verse 6, it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And, this is a great city, Los Angeles. How many people are here tonight? Less than 100. And so the question is here, how do you inform your people? How do you get the knowledge out to your fellow Jews and Christians, your fellow Americans here? By the way, you've got to get the message out to the Hindus and the Buddhists and the atheists, apostates, and New Agers, because everybody's going to die. The idea is to get the information out in your churches, in your synagogues, with your civic groups, with your political leaders, with your fire departments, with your elected officials, military. But many people will look at you when you say these things that you're crazy, because the people have been so dumbed down with Casey Anthony and the crazy scandals that have been going on in this country for the last 20 years, whereas there is real news out there. So my work is an educational work, and I've got CDs and DVDs. By the way, I'm going to make a quick advertisement. Normally DVDs are $20 each. I'm selling everything tonight on the table, $15 each, 5 for $50, $10 an item. I am not making money on this, but God is saying to me, get the message out, get the message out, get the message out. And if you don't have cash or checks, if you only have a debit card, take whatever you want tonight and mail me a check or money order when you can.
Did you hear what happened today in Joplin, Missouri?
What happened in Joplin, Missouri, dear?
They gave each student, after the tornado hit, they gave each student, the Muslims did, a computer, and they donated money, so they're infiltrating and brainwashing all the children in Joplin.
By the way, I want to say something. I thank the Muslims, for giving the kids in Joplin computers and money. All I'm saying is people have to understand the nature of the beast. And this is something you can only get either in church and or synagogue. People who know God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that the God of the Muslims, Muslims are great people, but their God is not the God of the Jews and the Christians. It's another God. And by the way, in the 10 Commandments, God says, I am the Lord your God. Commandment number 2, you shall have no other gods. And if that God is the moon god, then it's hateful, to take money from those kind of people who are rivaling our God or trying to overturn the God. It's bribery money.
Yes, and it's brainwashing the next generation.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 2 people that have had their hands up. The gentleman.
Do you see this law being passed?
Which law? The hatred law?
Yeah.
Preaching against
And
Islam?
isn't that
Imminent. Imminent.
So if that is passed, the power of the government would go to protect the rioters if they have their day of wrath on the streets. So people who think they have guns that are protect American lives are fooling themselves, because if they have the power of the government behind them, all your guns can't roll out tanks and call in airstrikes. So your guns are going to be worthless. You have to stop the government from aligning with the Muslims and protecting them over every other citizen and making this place into completely a non-democratic place anymore.
I agree with you 100%. By the way, in London, the crazy riots there, the people in England do not have guns. So if you have Americans who have stores, shops and homes, and you have these flash riots, you got flash riots, flash mobs here, and nobody can do anything about it. So basically, there's going to be bloodshed if these people continue with the riots here in America.
But the guns here aren't unprotected. You have to stop it at the laws being passed.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. The bottom line is that Americans are naive. And Americans have to understand the reason for this hatred law, which is basically to block freedom of speech. Correct.
Okay, here's our last question.
Until the Arab Spring began in February, the only thing you heard coming out of the State Department was Israel this, Israel that. Settlements, territories, Jerusalem. And all of a sudden, God reshuffled the deck. And all these Arab countries went up in flames. All of them went up in flames, or are about to go up in flames. And so, at some stage, you got to believe that God is going to do something. But I believe, and this is part of the work I'm doing, is a grassroots outreach to the Christians, who are 300 million in America, to wake up and to stand with Israel. Because if you're a Christian, you're also waiting for a Messiah who's a Jew from Israel who speaks Hebrew, who's going to pop up in the Mount of Olives. And if the Muslims get Jerusalem, that ain't good for the Jews or the Christians. So my work is, in 21 years, reach out to the Christians, reach out to the Jews who will listen, but reach out to the Christians, because the Christians are 300 million, and we got to save America and maintain it as a Christian power. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Avi. You've been amazing. And I want to invite everybody to come up and purchase Avi's books and DVDs. He's going to be signing all of his books, so please come on up and don't miss out.
By the way, writer's cramp is my favorite cramp.
Well said. I think this one just lies down.